The locket clinked softly as it hit the marble floor, just a tiny sound in the vast, echoing lobby of the skyscraper. The janitor's little daughter bent down, her small fingers brushing the cold metal before she called out, "You dropped this, sir." The man who turned around was no ordinary passerby, he was Alexander Reed, the CEO of Reed Industries. But when his eyes landed on the locket, the color drained from his face. His world stopped. Because that locket had belonged to his late wife. He'd buried it with her 10 years ago, and yet, here it was, in the trembling hands of a janitor's daughter. The girl looked up at him with innocent eyes, clutching the golden heart-shaped pendant. "It was under the chair, sir," she said shyly, unaware that she had just cracked open the door to a decade-old heartbreak. Alexander stared at it, his hands shaking. Where did you get this?" he whispered. The girl looked confused. "It was just lying there. I thought it was yours." Before he could say another word, the janitor approached, wiping sweat from his forehead, his uniform stained from the night's work. "Lila, sweetheart, what did I tell you about wandering?" His eyes lifted, and froze when he recognized the CEO. "Mr. Reed, I'm so sorry. My daughter didn't mean to bother you." But Alexander wasn't listening. His gaze was locked on that locket, memories flooding in, his wife's laughter, the way she used to hold that very piece of jewelry when she prayed, the night she was taken from him in a car crash. His voice cracked. "Where did you really find it?" The janitor frowned, puzzled. "Sir, my little girl found it here in the lobby this morning when I came to clean. We didn't steal it. I swear." Alexander's eyes softened, guilt flashing briefly across his face. "No. I didn't mean that." He hesitated, then gently opened the locket. Inside was a faded photograph, his wife smiling, holding a baby he hadn't seen since that awful night. The baby who didn't survive the crash. At least, that's what they told him, but as his gaze lifted toward the little girl, the one with the same chestnut hair and the same amber eyes, something deep inside him shifted. For the first time in years, Alexander felt something beyond grief. Something terrifying, impossible, and hopeful. Chapter 1. The night janitor, Tom Harrison, had worked at Reed Industries for nearly 8 years. He was quiet, humble, and rarely spoken to by anyone above the 4th floor. His wife had passed away years ago, and raising his daughter Lila alone had become his entire world. Every night, he brought her along because he couldn't afford childcare. While he cleaned offices and emptied trash bins, Lila would sit near the lobby with her little sketchbook, drawing the fancy people she saw coming and going. That morning had started like any other, until she'd found the locket. Tom noticed that something in the CEO's demeanor had changed after that incident. Alexander Reed, known for his icy professionalism, suddenly became curious. Over the next few days, he noticed the CEO watching them more closely, asking about Lila, about Tom's life. It made him uneasy. Then one evening, when Tom finished cleaning the executive floor, he found the CEO waiting by the window. "Mr. Harrison," Alexander said quietly, "your daughter, how old is she?" Tom hesitated. "She's 10, sir." Alexander nodded slowly. "And her mother?" Tom looked down. "She passed when Lila was born." Something flickered in Alexander's eyes, a mix of grief and disbelief. "When she was born?" "Yes," Tom said, his voice rough. I found her near the crash site. No one ever claimed her. The hospital said she was an orphan, and I couldn't just leave her. I adopted her." Alexander's heart thundered. "Crash site?" he asked, barely breathing. Tom frowned, confused by the intensity in the man's voice. "Yes, sir. 10 years ago. Highway 49. The room spun. That was the same highway, the same night his wife and daughter were declared dead. Alexander gripped the edge of his desk. "Do you still have the papers from her adoption?" Tom nodded slowly, still unsure why his boss cared. "Of course, sir. Bring them tomorrow, Alexander said. His tone was controlled, but inside, his world was breaking open. He didn't sleep that night. He sat in his study, holding the locket in one hand and staring at old photos, the same tiny nose, the same birthmark behind the left ear. Could it be? Could his daughter be alive, all these years? Chapter 2. The next day, Tom arrived early, the adoption papers folded carefully in an old envelope. Alexander took them with trembling hands and read every word. The timelines matched. The hospital. The crash. The blood type. Everything. When he lifted his gaze to Tom, there were tears in his eyes. Mr. Harrison, she's my daughter. Tom's breath caught. What? Alexander stood, overwhelmed. That night, I lost my wife. They told me our baby didn't survive. But she did. You found her. Silence hung between them, heavy and sacred. Tom looked toward the lobby, where Lila sat humming softly, her feet swinging from the bench. She's your daughter, he said quietly, the truth settling like dust. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Then Alexander whispered, "Thank you. You saved her. You gave her a life." Tom's voice broke. "She's my whole world, sir." "I know," Alexander said gently. "And I would never take her from you." That night, Alexander invited them both to dinner. It was awkward at first, Lila shyly staring at the grand table, Tom feeling out of place, but then Alexander brought out an old music box that had once belonged to his wife. When he opened it, a soft melody filled the room. Lila's eyes lit up. "That song," she exclaimed. "My dreams always have that song." Tom froze. Alexander smiled through tears. "Your mother used to hum it to you." In that instant, something wordless passed between them, a recognition of love that had endured through loss, time, and fate. In the months that followed, Alexander made sure Tom and Lila never wanted for anything again. He gave Tom a better position, a new home, and quietly began spending more time with Lila. He never forced her to call him Dad. He just showed up. At her art shows, her school events, her birthdays. One evening, she ran up to him after a drawing competition, holding a medal and grinning wide. "Look, Mr. Reed. I won." He knelt, smiling through tears. "You did, sweetheart. You did." And as she hugged him, small arms around his neck, warmth flooding his chest, Alexander whispered a prayer of gratitude to the woman he'd lost, the love who had somehow sent their daughter back to him. That night, he placed the locket around Lila's neck once more. "It belongs to you," he said softly. "It always did." She looked up, puzzled but smiling. "Then I'll never take it off." And as the three of them stood together under the golden lights of the city, it was as if two broken families had found their missing pieces, because sometimes, fate hides miracles in the hands of those who least expect to hold them, and all it takes is one small voice saying, "You dropped this, sir."